And now, ladies and gentlemen,
Put your thumbs up and say it's TicketyBoo.
TicketyBoo.
TicketyBoo, TicketyBoo, everything's TicketyBoo.
TicketyBoo, son. TicketyBoo.
TicketyBoo. Welcome to TicketyBoo. I'm Andy, here with Ian and Iona, and today we're talking about how life can shift quickly and how we deal with that feeling of being a little bit adrift. So many unexpected things can happen at times, leaving you feeling like you're an accident waiting to happen. We do tend to go through life thinking certain things are always going to be there, whether that's people, jobs, a sense of routine, and then suddenly, for whatever reason, they go. And that can really make you realise how much of our identities are wrapped up in the things that we can't actually control. Have you ever had a moment in your life where something has changed, shifted, gone away, and it's left you with that weird kind of feeling?
Should we start the list?
I mean, it can be good and bad stuff.
Yeah.
Well, a lot of my stuff you think is bad at the time, but it really feels like the universe just giving you that poke to do the things that you said that you were going to, or make the changes that you needed to make. I'll always keep going back to my biggest pivotals. One was the motorbike accident, obviously where I was off work. Don't want to. That was huge, and that sort of took away some of my physicality, which is kind of, I can't run and things like that, which is a bit of a shame. But yeah, being forced to step outside and look back in, there was lots of things that had to be sort of shed out of my life at that point, because for the first time ever I was able to stand back out and look back in.
Do you think, though, without those set of circumstances that put you in those positions, those things might not have been shed?
Mm-hmm. I mean, for me, like if we continue with the health perspective, I'm definitely fitter than I've been, more flexible than I've been. Having been like 5 years ago, I couldn't dress myself because I'd hurt myself so badly. So I've improved exponentially because of that. So I'm going into approaching my 60s much healthier than I would have been otherwise. And I think once we accept change, because change is inevitable, we know things are going to change, it's just a fact of life. Once it's happened a couple of times, we can go, oh, look, that didn't kill us. It might have floored us, and it might have felt at the time like the world was like swallowing us up whole. But when we get ready to adjust with that and we can rise through it, we can learn, then we can start to recognize the patterns and teach ourselves that, oh, I can get through this. I've gone through harder. And I think it can be a really positive thing in building resilience. And I don't mean resilience where we have to power through and it's survival mode. It's like, oh, yeah, I can do this. I've done it before. I can change. I can adapt.
I totally agree with that.
Thank you.
Glad you agree. Because sometimes, because we're in a status quo, the things that will cause us to change feel like a conflict. So they're not always comfortable, and we don't always see it as a good thing, because like we're in a status quo and like in a rut for a reason. So.
Yeah.
How about you?
Yeah, I think for me, I think the big one is people. You know, throughout our lives, we have people come and go, don't we? For sometimes through necessity and choice, and other times life circumstances can take them away. You know, there was a couple of friends that passed away last year, and I didn't realise the last time I saw them was the last time I was ever going to see them. And that does make you, I mean, I don't want to go on morbid, but kind of, you know, we walk away from situations and we take things for granted on a daily basis, just assuming they're going to be there next week, next month, next year, because we get so wrapped up in the roller coaster of life, don't we? And then when suddenly it's taken away or there's a change, it does leave you in that space of feeling quite, I don't know, there's like a funk in that feeling, isn't there? You know, things you wished you said, things you wished you did, things you didn't do, and it's really about when you lose something that you've learned to lean on, it kind of spotlights parts of ourselves that we've ignored.
Yeah.
You know, whether that is our health or well-being or our stress levels or whatever it is. Does that kind of make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think these parts of us we don't like to visit because they're a little bit uncomfortable when these things are taken away. So when we take away the stuff, all the external stuff, we have to look at parts of ourselves, whether that is your work, your relationship,
Your
friendship, your health, or whatever. I mean, health is one of the biggest ones that we absolutely take for granted. And
Until it's gone, and then you're like, oh, never again.
yeah. And also, it's like even I've noticed now there's things not struggle aren't as easy to do. And it's only when you notice that shift you go, oh, yeah, maybe back then when I was able to burn the candle in 27 different ways, I probably didn't appreciate, what I had back then. I think probably my biggest fear is my health. If that ever went, that's probably the one thing.
Well, because it's the thing that stops everything, isn't it? And it's like if your health goes, and that's you can't get up off the sofa or out of your bed, then that's like everything else falls away. You can't go to that job. You can't take that vacation. Like you can't go skydiving or ride a motorbike. Our health is so important.
Do you see the way we treat ourselves, put ourselves through stress and endurance and all the things we do? If we were to be like an advert for a used car, would we be putting down one careful owner, full service history?
Absolutely not.
You kind of get what I mean. Like we drive vehicles and we take them in for services and have them MOT'd. Do we actually look after that stuff? Sometimes a little bit better than we look after ourselves.
Probably.
But we expect ourselves to keep running like a Swiss watch.
Yeah. I mean, I look after myself better than I used to, but if I was a car, I wouldn't buy me. Absolutely not.
I'd be a write-off.
Yeah.
100 not so careful owners, been round the clock 10 times. Yeah.
Well, I'm going to be careful what I say there, because if Mrs. Young hears that and gets the wrong idea.
But you get what I mean. And then when suddenly we can't do something, or there's an ailment, there's an issue, we almost fall into resentment of going, this is not fair. I've been done an injustice.
I certainly felt sorry for myself 5 years ago when I was on the sofa and just like, is this me for the rest of my life? And I was in that self-pity, and it took time for me to go, okay, like, how can I make the best of it? And so to get to where I am, I've had to do the work, but it took time and patience and perseverance. But yeah, like I certainly was really angry and upset and literally crying, feeling sorry for myself.
Do you think, though, these moments, these shifts, whatever the things are that happen to us, lead you to a place of knowing yourself at a better level, or knowing what your needs are
I think so.
at a better level?
Yeah, definitely. But they're not always. It's not always in a negative way.
Yeah,
Absolutely. I mean, it could be having a child, meeting somebody that that brings out a new part of you or lights you up. So you can have the positive ones as well as the negative. But I think a lot of life's lessons tend to be learnt the hard way.
Yeah.
It feels that way.
100%. But it takes for the stuff to disappear for us to start appreciating it. That's where I kind of go with it. So, like, we go back to the used car analogy. I've skipped the last 5 services.
Ran it on empty, put the wrong fuel
every warning
into
light's
it.
been on the dashboard for a year. And now you go, do you know what? I'm going to put the car in for a service. I'm going to change the oil. And in some circumstances, you're doing preventative maintenance. Now you're kind of like, I need to right some of the damage that's kind of been done over the years. But let's take it away from health. What if it is a friendship, a job, a career? That thing that kind of gives us our position in life. If that goes, whether you're, I don't know, maybe forced to retire through illness, or maybe you've been laid off, or whatever, where your identity just completely evaporates because of the very thing you've hung, you on.
Yeah.
What when that goes? I don't think I've personally experienced that. Have you?
I haven't experienced that. Have you?
Yeah, I have had a loss of identity a couple of times. Never major. normally it's with me. It's either it's normally work related, to be honest. Where you come to the end of one thing and you say, right, okay, I'm stepping away from that now, and then you lose your significance to other people, and you lose your own identity, and then that's quite uncomfortable at times. But yeah, but it's always been a force for change. Whether it meant going back to it in a different way, and you understand the bits that didn't work for you within that environment. So when you go back to it, you go back changed. Or stepping away completely and finding something new.
I'm sure there's a lot of our listeners who in the last 5 years have had a change in work, professional circumstances, whether by choice because they reevaluated, or their career or job was taken away from them just because of what we've been experiencing for the last 5 years. So what would your advice for them be if they're still struggling for this, or if anyone's about to be in this position?
Well, it's difficult, isn't it? Because there can be so many. It can be financial. Right now we're living through really interesting times in terms of people that could afford maybe a nice car or a couple of holidays a year suddenly have now found themselves in a situation where they can't through no fault of their own. And it's really easy to sit there and go, well, be grateful for what you've had and all the rest of it. But at that point, you could feel really resentful towards the system, the world, or whatever it is. But I think it's when something's gone or you've had to let go of something, it reveals parts of you that need to be looked at. Because maybe actually it's more about, well, if I can't have the 2 holidays and the car a year, who am I? What does that mean about me? Am I failing? What will others think?
Yeah.
I wonder if it's more about what will others think, or is it so it's not just their sense of identity as being the person who does these experiences and that's how they feel joy and fulfilled and satisfaction. How much of it is about how they're perceived?
I mean, nothing is permanent, and it's not meant to be, is it? And obviously, if something goes, it creates space for other things, doesn't it?
Definitely.
And it's whether I suppose it's the way that you look at the situation. You focus on the loss, the thing that's no longer there, or you focus on what's this showed me about myself, but then try and flick it to maybe it's because something's better.
What's the opportunity in this?
Yeah, what's the opportunity here? What's the learning? But when you're deep in the emotion of the thing that's not there anymore, it's not really easy to shift that. You need to go through that. The pity, the grief, the anger, the upset, to move into a place of peace. Because a lot of these things around us, especially when it comes to like jobs and outside stuff that we can't really control, if we allow that to define how we feel our places in the world, we're always somehow going to end up in a place of discomfort, aren't we? Because they can be taken.
But it's external.
That they are external, 100%. And I think we shape our lives in order not to be judged. But then what happens, in my opinion, is it's almost like there's this invisible audience watching us. Yeah. Like you're a TV show and there's this expectation that you keep up doing the thing. Like if Ian today turned around and says, I'm not a property developer anymore. I'm not doing this and I'm not doing that. I'm going to go and do, I don't know, I'm going to be a nail technician or whatever. Bit extreme, but you get what I mean. Yeah. What's the audience? What's your audience expecting you to do? And what are they going to think? And what does it make you feel knowing that they're looking, going, what's he up to?
Yeah, you do feel judged. You don't want people to think you've left it because you failed, you couldn't do it. Yeah. And you don't want to be perceived as a failure. Yeah. To me, that's not too much of an issue. But that's because I've got to enjoy a certain level of success. I can sort of, people know that if I step away, it's because I'm done.
But if that's, I mean, it's probably difficult to do that. But if that success just somehow disappeared,
Well, yeah, it'd be incredibly difficult to justify what I mean. It's like losing those holidays we were talking. So there's a lot of nurses, teachers. These are the people that would have 2 holidays a year, drive a nice car and have a really, really good life. But now there's a lot of nurses using food banks to get by, you know, thriving.
Keep talking, Ian. Your microphone
Yes,
stand needs some Viagra. So, mid-episode Viagra for the mic stand. There we go. Fix. Sorry, carry on.
Yeah, so all of a sudden, people's justification for what they do, they're not seeing any real reward, where we're now in a position where it's very hard to see sort of surviving as thriving anymore. Whereas before, people have the nice, you know, the nice trimmings that came with working hard, but that seems to have been pulled away from a lot of people. So that would be sort of the same as me stepping away from, you know, what I do. Are we then, as we go through our daily life, putting more focus and effort in not letting go and keeping the audience happy, the audience, metaphorically, on side? Like, there's this expectation of this is what you do. Do you know what I mean? So, like, sometimes we do stuff in life because we want to do it. It's what lights us up and all the rest of it. And sometimes we end up doing stuff in life because it's kind of what's expected of us to do. Where if it's what you feel like you're expected to do, where do you get off that? Where's that point where you go, well, hang on a minute, who's expecting me? Whose expectation am I meeting here?
Well, I think if you're living for other people's expectations and to satisfy that external drive or need, that's where I think you're going to burn out. I think you're going to... That's just harder, and it's going to be more draining. Whereas if you're doing something for your own fulfillment, and yes, you may, and also knowing that, okay, this can change. So as we build resilience and we get more confident and we know we can adapt, that's much easier when we're doing it when there's an internal driver, whereas an external one, which can always be taken away. Like, we're constantly chasing something and trying to satisfy something that we can't meet.
So as you say, it will never change because people's, you know, you're typecast into a role in some people, but that's never going to change unless it's like everybody knows me as Ian the Builder, and I'm actually, you know, a lot more of my time now is actually spent in therapy or around the therapy. But a lot of people, they struggle to get their head around the fact that, you know, you're not that person that they know. Well, you are, but you've got a different role than you've had. So if I only stuck to the, you know, to the typecast that I've been given and stayed in that rut, I wouldn't be doing all these other things because it'd be according to it'd be a script that's written by everybody else.
I can remember.
You have 3 businesses. I mean, you have multiple businesses. So how do you feel about this?
That's a good question. Well, I suppose if I was to ask myself, who am I without them? I'm still me. They're just things that I do. A lot of my identity's tied up in that, but it's, you know, I'm more than that. I'd like to think I'm more than that. But I think while you were talking there, something came into my mind, but maybe it'll resonate more with a bit more of the listeners. We've been talking about jobs and relationships and friendships and stuff, but there's sometimes in life we have like these givens. We just have this given that it's always going to be like that. I've had 2 moments in my life that I can really reflect on that changed it for me. So, you know, obviously I'm originally from Birmingham. That's where I lived, moved up to Scotland, but I've always had a very strong connection back home. One, because I got a lot of friends there and history there, but up until 8 years ago, my mum was there. Then my mum retired and moved away from Birmingham, and suddenly a connection to where I came from was no longer there, and that created a really strange feeling. Like, I knew I could go back and see my friends, but it was like a root had been taken away from the tree. Does that kind of make sense? And it did leave this really strange, melancholy, reflective feeling in, like, well, that's changed now. And the other time in my life I can think about was actually the end of secondary school. When we'd done all our exams, we'd done our GCSEs, and there was a day where they call you back in and you get your grades. There was like a board up, and you go in and you read them, and you'd see all of your mates, some of which you knocked about with after school, and some you only really saw in school. But I actually didn't realise that day was the last time I would see some of those people I'd spent 5 years at school with, not even giving it a second thought. And that was one of those strange moments of going, like, from this moment today, life will be very different. Yeah. But you take it for granted. It was always. Does that kind of make sense to you? Put it in a bit in context. Yeah. And I think sometimes we can feel like roots or branches have been taken from the foundation, and then everything just feels a little bit.
Well, particularly when it's, because if we're talking about your mum and having that route taken, because she's the memory keeper, and she's so everything that's in the identity, and that's what grounds you. I wrote an article last week in Substack about losing my mum and having, and for anybody who's lost a parent, no, you haven't lost your mum, she moved, but it's that same break in the continuum of whatever it is. It's that, like she was our parents or the people that knew us when we were younger. That's what keeps us grounded. That's what keeps us rooted. They can reflect back the stories. They can reflect back where we come from. And when that dissipates for whatever reason, then that can be unsettling.
Yeah, it's like I took for granted there would always be that root. Yeah. And I think sometimes we forget to look at the roots and remember them and nurture them because we're too busy up in the top branches,
living our best life.
Just in the madness of just existing.
Do you think some of that is because you always used to call Birmingham home? Like, if I go back home, and then all of a sudden that had gone. That was sort of the route.
I don't know. I don't know if home is the right word, but like a sense of sort of belonging or where I came from, sort of thing. It was this strange feeling. It's probably a bit like, driving past a house you used to live in with your parents or something like that when you were growing up or whatever. It's just, I don't know what it is. It's just these root connections that we think they're always going to be there, whether they are friendships, families, or jobs. And when they're suddenly gone, it leaves kind of like this void. And then actually it does make you look at it. Like for me, it was like, I need to look at my home, my sort of space. It left a void, which was obviously needed to be filled at this side of things. Yeah. So kind of what I'm saying is every time sort of life shifts or we lose something that we sort of unconsciously depended on, it sort of gives you this moment to sort of really reflect on what is truly yours. And lean into it and actually nurture it rather than just going, well, eat, sleep, repeat, it's going to be there tomorrow.
We might need to have this conversation this time next year because I'm coming up to selling my dad's farm, which obviously is why we had it the year I was born. Yeah. And so I'm like, I wonder if I'm going to have a really different of opinion because that will be the first home building that I grew up in. Yeah. Losing my mum, like she's moved, I've moved, like, so it'll be really interesting having just listened to you now. I'm like, I might have a very different opinion like this time next year.
Yeah, and the home for me didn't always have happy memories.
Yeah, same here.
But when it's not there,
it'll be really interesting.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to hear what you have to say about
Come back for that episode.
Yeah, and we can talk about it. But it's if you have lost something, whether it's a job, a friendship, a relationship, or whatever it is, once you've moved through that feeling, I do encourage you to look at the parts of you that really wanted things to stay the same and why. Yeah. Because it could show you something that needs to be to be looked at. And when something goes, yes, there's that initial peak, but there is space for other stuff if you allow it to come in. And realising what you need. Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
Good one. Well, as always, hope you enjoyed the episode. Please click that subscribe, like icon and follow us and drop us a comment. And we look forward to catching up with you in the next episode of TicketyBoo.
If you or someone close to you needs to access mental health support, please contact your GP, or if it's out with normal office hours, get in touch with NHS 24 on 111. Alternatively, contact the Samaritans on 116 123. All calls are free of charge from any phone. You can also find more support information on the TicketyBoo website, ticketyboopodcast.co.uk.